news came out that CIA Director Leon Panetta rushed to notify Congress after learning of a secret CIA program to kill al-Qaeda leaders. We all knew there had to be something more to that. Our third story tonight, more. The New York Times reports the CIA actually outsourced parts of the job to Blackwater, the right-wing mercenary firm that viewed its work in Iraq as obliterating the Muslim faith from the earth and used call signs from the Christian Crusades against Muslims. According to the Times, Blackwater's involvement was, quote, a major reason that Panetta became alarmed and called the emergency meeting. Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky now telling The Nation magazine that House Intelligence Committee will now add Blackwater to its ongoing probe of the CIA plan. Why would the CIA outsource a highly sensitive function? From today's Washington Post, the program was initially managed by the CIA's Counterterrorism Center, but its functions were partly transferred to Blackwater when key officials from the center retired from the CIA and went to work for the private contractor. The Post reporting Blackwater got millions to train CIA teams in simulated kidnappings, but the plan was killed because it failed to get off the ground. Blackwater founder, evangelical patron Eric Prince, got his first CIA contract early in 2002 from CIA Executive Director Alvin Krongard, a good buddy of Prince's, according to The Nation. Mr. Krongard wound up joining, surprise, the Blackwater Advisory Board in 2007. CIA counterterrorism chief Cofer Black, who ran the rendition program in which Blackwater has also been implicated, joined Blackwater in 2005. The Times reports that Blackwater's involvement in the program ended years ago under Bush, quote, after senior CIA officials themselves questioned the wisdom of using outsiders in a targeted killing program. With us once again on this story tonight, The Nation magazine contributor Jeremy Scahill, also author of Blackwater, The Rise of the World's Most Powerful Mercenary Army. Thanks for coming in again.
Nice to be with you, Keith.
Explain why even the Bush administration would think it was a bad idea to pay a private company for something so sensitive that even Congress couldn't be told about it.
I don't think it's necessarily the case that the Bush administration thought it was a bad idea. I mean, let's remember here what's at the center, the epicenter of this scandal is the fact that Dick Cheney is alleged to have ordered the CIA to conceal from the Congress, which has oversight authority, the existence of a secret CIA assassination plan. Blackwater was on from almost day one of the so-called War on Terror as part of the war that Bush labeled a crusade. They worked overtly for the administration. We know as of May of 2002, they were boots on the ground in Afghanistan. I'm not so sure that the program has even ended to this day. Blackwater continues to be paid by the United States government for work in both Afghanistan and Iraq. The issue here, Keith, as Representative Jan Schakowsky told me last night, is how far up the chain did the relationship between Eric Prince and the administration go? She said to me that clearly the Bush administration trusted Eric Prince, the mercenary kingpin of Blackwater, more than the elected representatives of the Congress who are supposed to have oversight because they shared these details with him and not the Congress.
Well, they shared more than details, obviously. They basically shared staffs. It was a sequential thing, the way football coaches retire and work in television for a year and then get another job in football. You've got Cofer Black, Buzzy Krongard, this unnamed group of CIA officials retiring, by the way, to go work at Blackwater. Explain the role of that evolving, or the revolving door, and the relative to the assassination ring, if you will. Right.
So shortly after 9/11, A.K. Buzzy Krongard, the number 3 man at the CIA, meets with Eric Prince, and they authorize a $5 million black contract, a covert contract, for Blackwater to insert inside of Afghanistan in Kabul, as well as in a town called Shkin, which is along the Afghan-Pakistan border, where Blackwater and the CIA operated out of a mud fortress that they called the Alamo. Prince went over. He's himself a former Navy SEAL, went over with that initial Blackwater deployment, and then after a week or so there, according to a CIA operative that we talked to for my book, Prince then went to Kabul to try to win more business for Blackwater. That launched Blackwater, Keith, as a mercenary operation. At the time that Prince and Krongard were crafting this relationship between the CIA and Blackwater, you had Cofer Black running the CIA's Counterterrorism Center, leading the hunt for bin Laden, talking about the gloves have come off. There was a before 9/11 and after 9/11, and saying that there were no limits on what operatives would be authorized to do in hunting down terrorists. So you have this history of Blackwater from 2002 to the present, where they've worked overtly and covertly for the U.S. government, and then Prince hires Cofer Black, Buzzy Krongard, Robert Richard, former deputy director of the CIA, Enrique Rick Prado, a veteran of the CIA paramilitary division, to run his own private CIA called Total Intelligence Solutions, which works simultaneously for the U.S. government and foreign governments.
We already have Blackwater employees who've pleaded guilty to weapons smuggling, including those armor-piercing ammo devices that detonate in human flesh, as you pointed out. There are affidavits from 2 of the vets of Blackwater claiming that Eric Prince principally went into this, to some degree at least, because he wanted to kill Muslim people. Now we find out that they were hired as part of a secret international hit squad that Congress was never supposed to know about. Put it together in terms of a context for us. What more do we know now that we didn't know before this came out?
Right. Well, what you have here is a confirmation that Blackwater not only was working in an overt capacity for the State Department and for the Department of Defense, where they were overtly killing people, shooting Iraqi civilians, etc., all in a day's work, so to speak, but that they also were involved at the highest level of the clandestine operations. Blackwater, we now know, served as a buffer between the executive branch of the government and accountability. In other words, what you have is the White House being able to have ultimate plausible deniability, because you don't even have your own CIA guys doing it. You actually have farmed it out to a private company. What this was effectively, Keith, was a hit squad that responded to one branch of government, the executive branch, at the expense of any oversight or involvement of the other 2. I would say that this was unconstitutional.
Well, yeah, it was already used in the movie Catch-22. This is Milo and the private army. This is and they wind up taking over the world.
Right. You have sort of Lord of the Christian supremacist flies here.
Jeremy Scahill, whose latest Blackwater article appears in The Nation. The story continues to unfold. Thank you for illuminating it for us.
Thank you.
John Anson says Bill